Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. Earlier this week we talked about the power of comparison, and I made a lot of points about balance not being an objective thing. And that's what I want to dedicate this video about, because I was talking in Will Hirsch's Discord a few days ago at this point, and someone mentioned, it was Stitch Steel, he said, yeah, balance isn't objective. Everyone disagrees on balance and no one can agree. And it made my gears really turn. Because it's something that I've known for a long time, but it's something that I've never really quantified and talked about. So I want to use this video, as a sort of ranting place to kind of put my feelings about it out there and see what you guys think. Because I think it's an extremely, extremely interesting thing. So, setting the stage, balance is obviously the way that a balisong tends to perform. If you have more weight in the handles, it's handle biased. If there's a general balance between the two, it's neutral. If there's more weight in the blade, then it's blade biased, or at least that's what everyone has been saying this whole time. I think it's a very generally undescriptive way to describe a balisong, but that's a whole nother topic for another video. But that sounds like such an easy thing to quantify. You have blade biased balisongs that perform better in some tricks, notably like fans, and they might struggle in some rollovers and stuff like that. And then you have handle bias knives, which are going to struggle in fans and be better at rollovers and chaplains and etc. But the thing is, no one can agree on balance. And to illustrate that, simply just look at anything anyone calls neutral. How many knives can you think of where everyone agrees that it's neutral? Because I can think of maybe two. I would say, and if you disagree with this, perfectly fine, because it also, illustrates my point a little better. I would say the squid trainer is one. I've seen a lot of people call the squid trainer fairly neutral. And then the Orion wide blade is the other. Because most of the people that I've seen that have gotten like their sample units and talked about it in Instagram posts have described it as fairly neutral. Not everyone, but, again, it just illustrates my point a little better. No one can agree. In this thing that you think would be this fairly easy open and shut case, okay, let's, look at the weight distribution or look at how much weight is in the handles or look at what tricks it can perform. No one can agree. And I think that's such a fascinating thing, because it just really goes to show how much preference plays a role in it. If you have someone who prefers a little bit more handle bias, they might say something's neutral when something leans a bit more towards that handle bias because that's what they like. Think of I guess the Nemesis would be a good example. Something that I think a lot of people would agree is kind of handle biased, but I called neutral back in the day because, it fanned well, it did rollovers well, and I liked handle bias a little bit more back then. Nowadays, as I have grown to not like handle bias as much, I wouldn't call this neutral. I would call it handle biased. It's absolutely fascinating, and it's compounded by the fact that I went home for break thinking that the Slift T was fairly handle biased, and coming back thinking that it's not as handle biased. I wouldn't say it's neutral, but it doesn't feel as handle biased as it did because I got used to it and I became more accepting of handle bias. I like it a little bit more, so I'm willing to overlook, and then it moves over to that neutral side. And it's so fascinating to me. A great example of this is the Prisma, because I have never seen a comment section that doesn't devolve into an argument of some sort when the Prisma balance is mentioned. Some people think it's blade bias, some people think it's neutral, some people think it's handle biased. Try and find two people that agree on that one, because I sure can't. I've had people be like, you're stupid. The Prisma is not slightly blade biased, it's handle biased, because when you take out the weights, it gets more neutral. I don't know, man. We're just all trying to use descriptors that suck. That's what it is. And that's the reason I've been trying to talk more about things, more descriptive things. Like you may have noticed me saying end weighted a lot in my videos lately, which refers to a weight hotspot in the handles, because I feel like nowadays, and with something that's so subjective as balance, those three terms just don't work anymore. They just don't. Handle bias, neutral, blade bias. Some people can't even agree what those three mean, so how are three enough? And it's something that I've really learned with my time in the IEM community, with, how subjective that is, because no one here sounds differently. Like that is a fact. Or no one here sounds differently. No one here sounds the same. That is a fact, because the shape of our ears is different, and there's a whole lot of acoustic and audio science that goes into that. But no one here sound the same. Some people are going to prefer this, and some people are going to prefer that because of the shape of the ears or because of their preferences, and it's just crazy. So in the audio community, you have this swath of terms that just mean nothing but just try to describe a subjective experience, and I think that's what we need to do in ballad songs. And I've had a system for a while that I've been using to describe ballad songs, but I'm still trying to iron out kinks before I really introduce it and see what the ballad song community thinks of it. But it's just like the three words don't cut it anymore. In something as subjective as balance, how can you just boil it down to three things that people can't even agree on? Why is balance subjective in the first place? I don't know. Preference has a lot to do with it. Being used to something has a lot to do with it. If you really like blade bias, then you're going to be more tolerant for a little bit of blade bias, and then it's going to feel neutral to you. I don't know, man. How do we fix that? I don't know. More descriptors, sure, but then it's more to teach new people. Maybe we go a more objective approach. The one handle weighs more than the blade, that's handle bias. I don't know. I have no idea. It's one of the reasons why I, on my live streams, and Brandon in one of his videos actually, has clowned on Squid's performance pentagon, or whatever the hell they call that. Because they list all their knives as like balance 10, but like, you can't really say that everything's a 10 when everything in Squid's lineup flips so differently. You know? It's just kind of weird. If they all flipped the same and they all flipped amazing, I mean, sure, but the Triton flips very differently from the Squid Trainer. Are they both balance 10? What's the metric that you're using to describe that? I don't know. This is it's a very strange system that we have set up here. And part of the reason why reviews are so important, because no one can agree on one single ballad song. So you got to go to multiple sources, which is why it's a shame that there aren't too many content creators making consistent videos on knives, myself included. But that's a whole nother topic for another day. Let me know what you think of anything that I said in this video. I was ranting kind of crazy, so I don't know if I made any sense or said anything that was like, oh, that's really smart. I'm going to think about that. Let me know, I guess. Let me know what you think. What do you think of balance? Do you think something's neutral that someone else doesn't? What is neutral to you? I don't know, man. We're all just flesh suits. We're all just bones with flesh suits trying to make our way through the world. And some of us really like fidget toys that can cut us, I guess. Kuno's really good, though. Yeah. Cool. I don't know, man. It's raining out. Have a good one, I guess. I'll see you in a little bit. I don't know. Peace. What a video.